Shalom and welcome to Parasha Espresso, the weekly fix for spiritual lessons taken from the Parasha. Grab your coffee and let's take a look at the weekly Torah reading.
Today we'll be looking at Parashat Devarim, which runs from Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 1 to chapter 3 verse 22.
Enjoy it, and don't forget to give us your feedback on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or via our website.
Childhood memories, old songs, or popular retro fashion trends are just some of the many things that people post on the internet under the hashtag Throwback Thursdays, or TBT for short. Each week the internet delves into its past as people remember the good old days, even if those days were just last week, and post an appropriate picture or a quote to match. And it's a good thing to do. It's good to remember. It's good to look back at our past and see how far we've come. The irony is, so often we forget to remember. But that's not going to be a problem for us during the upcoming weeks. You see, our people have reached the border of the land of Israel. Soon Moshe Rabbeinu will die, and he'll leave Joshua to take the reins. Soon, and very soon, we'll be in the land of promise. And I'm sure that our people couldn't wait. But wait they must, because before they can go forward, they need to look backward. Moses reminds them of the last 40 years since they left Egypt. He pushes the rewind button and replays for them battles, mutinies, wanderings, and victory. And that is not just what this parasha is all about. Indeed, the whole of the book of Devarim is a throwback to many things that we've already read about over the course of our year-long Torah journey. At this point, we might be tempted to throw up our hands and ask, what's the point? After all, we come from a society that ultimately values the new, even if we do like Throwback Thursdays. The future is important. We need to press on. We don't want to waste time looking at the past. And yet sometimes it's good to stop and to take stock. As a famous quote by George Santayana goes, "Those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it." Ouch. So that's what Moses does. He reminds our people of the victories that God wrought, but he also reminds them of their bad choices, wrongdoing, and outright rebellion. Remember, those listening to Moses' stories are now the children of the protagonists. Maybe they were too young to remember, or maybe they just need to hear it a second time because things were about to get critical. They were about to cross the Juden River, and if you'll pardon the pun, it wasn't going to be plain sailing. Remembering may be beneficial, but it's not easy. I have a friend who had an experience so bad that his memory has suppressed it, and he no longer knows exactly what went on in those few minutes. Countless other people I have spoken to have experienced traumatic events in their lives, from physical, sexual, verbal, or mental abuse to being completely abandoned by their parents. And all of us, if we haven't experienced something quite to that level, have things in our past that we'd rather not be reminded about. Perhaps times when we did or said stupid things, or hurt other people, or when other people hurt us. I'm grateful that even though I might often forget or not want to actively remember what's gone in my past, God doesn't forget. He sees all the injustices that have been perpetrated against each one of us. He sees all of our hurt and all of our pain, and he doesn't turn a blind eye or a deaf ear. Instead, as we will read at the end of the book of Devarim, he tells us, "Vengeance is mine." It's very encouraging to know that one day, all of the people who thought that they got away with it will realize that they haven't. Or perhaps it isn't so encouraging. After all, although all of us are victims, all of us are also perpetrators. We've also all done and said and thought things that we would not want God to remember. Of course, we relativize it, and we say that our wrongdoing isn't as bad as what was done to us. And that may be true in our eyes, but ultimately, all wrongdoing is wrong. We find ourselves stuck between a rock and a hard place. We want God to take vengeance and to fulfill justice, just not for us. But there is a solution to our dilemma. Years after God gave us the Torah and made a covenant with us, he told us through the prophet Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu Navi, that he would have to give us a new covenant. We'd screwed up the old one and we were left condemned. We'd been caught red-handed. We hadn't lived up to what we'd promised. And the same is true for us today. We haven't lived like we should have lived. And yet God, in this new covenant, this Brit Chadashah, he makes an incredible promise. Talking of the people who will agree to enter into this new covenant with God, he says, I will forgive their iniquity and remember their wrongdoing no more. Wow! God promises to actively not remember all of the bad things we've done. More than that, he promises to forgive us. How? Through the person whose death initiated the start of this new covenant with God, Yeshua the Messiah. If we put our trust in him and enter into this new agreement with God, God promises to transform us, to give us a clean slate. Not so that we can go and mess up again, but so he can change us from the inside out and make us new people. If I were to post something for Throwback Thursday, it would be a photo of me with blue hair and a pink bass guitar living as a punk. But I wouldn't be posting it to talk about the good old days. No, I would post it to show how God has transformed my life for good, just as he promised he would do all those thousands of years ago through the prophet Jeremiah. I'm grateful that God doesn't remember my wrongdoing anymore. And as we start to explore the Torah's version of Throwback Thursday, it's a good time for us to look at our past. God offers us forgiveness for the wrong we've done and deep inner healing for the traumas that we've experienced at the hands of others. Are you willing to make that step and invite him to change you? Don't forget to remember, and don't forget to do it.
That's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed our Parasha Espresso. Please don't forget to subscribe to make sure you get the latest episodes. We'd love to hear from you, so please get in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or via our website at judenfürjesus.de.